What's up, DS3 TV? We are back for another video. This one is Indigenous America City Minutes by none other than Overly Sarcastic Productions. You know we love this channel on this channel. And yeah, let's get into it. I'm actually thinking about maybe putting out like along with the Q&A, I'm thinking about putting out another um video, like maybe like a vlog or something sometime soon. But yeah, maybe start, just kind of, just sprinkle some different content in there while I have, like along with the reaction content. So yeah, might do that. Also, yeah. So also, if you haven't been watching any of the videos up until now, uh, yeah, so my PC is down. That's why I haven't been making videos for about 2 weeks. Sorry about that. Still is not working. Making videos like how I used to on my laptop. So gonna see how this is gonna work out, and I'll probably be streaming like maybe once or twice a week on Twitch. Link in the description for that, and then click the heart so that way you can follow me on Twitch. And yeah, I think that's how I'm gonna do it. Probably play some Genshin Impact or like some other games too on there. Yeah. So let's get into it. Uh, Indigenous America. Um, I have I have Indigenous Americans in my family. I'm Native American. So yeah. um, let's get into this and.
The history of Teotihuacan is an elegant showcase in the strategic benefits of burying your neighbors under a volcano. Let me explain. A couple centuries before the BC AD switcheroo, ancient Mesoamericans in the Valley of Mexico were building themselves a city. We're not exactly sure who, as the city received waves of migrating people, particularly after the nearby metropolis of Cuicuilco got utterly slathered in lava. And thus, a hefty handful of folks hopped over to the ever-growing city of Teotihuacan. Following centuries saw their influence expand across Mesoamerica and even engage with the classical Maya. And that imperial feat was matched by the splendor of the city.
Wait, I kind of want to go back to that. That was interesting. Okay, so the complexity of that relationship is pretty wild, as scholars are actively investigating how these cultures interacted, military, cultural, political, but it's abundantly clear that they did intersect. Okay, so that's cool. I know a lot of people the reason why the Mayans kind of went down, because I guess it's still but people that don't really look at that much into history is still like seen as not something that's like um that's kind of odd how the civilization went away. They didn't really go away. They just hit a lot of people that hated them. So yeah, like basically when everybody attacked them on all sides, they kind of just like basically took over their land and like kind of just steamrolled over their land. If like per se, like a lot of people hated them. Wait, I think that act. Yeah, I think I'm thinking about the Maya and the Aztecs. Because yeah, I think the Aztecs had the same problem too. If I'm thinking about it right, I think it was that. I think it was the Aztecs, but I think the Mayans had the same problem too. But I believe it was more so the Aztecs that had that problem. So I'm gonna take a little bit of that back. But yeah, I think it was. I think they actually had like a lot of people that hated them, and it might even include the Mayans. The Mayans. So that may be where I got the Mayans mixed in with that. Who knows? But yeah. So definitely, I know that's not even in this video at this point. But yeah, that's something that you might not know. And yeah, Aztecs really didn't like. They didn't have a lot of friends. So they kind of just like everybody teamed up with with the Spanish because they all hated the Aztecs, and that's how that worked. So
Matched by the splendor of the city, Teotihuacan was meticulously gridded with even the river reshaped to fit. The central avenue was lined with the Pyramid of the Moon, and later the Pyramids of the Feathered Serpent and of the Sun. These colossal monuments were originally painted maroon, but now they compensate by giving a sunburn to tourists who climb it. Just ask red. The sculpture work on the temples is absolutely exquisite, and Teotihuacan became a center of culture in addition to a political and mercantile capital. In an impressive boast, the city had no fortifications, and it's good they saved on stonework because their collapse in the mid-millennium was caused by internal upheaval. Bit of bad luck, but otherwise a pretty great run. Meanwhile, the influence of Teotihuacan might be best observed somewhere entirely different, several hundred miles to the east in the Maya heartland of the Yucatan Peninsula. For the Maya, city building was as competitive a sport as their iconic ball game. While they had been in the urbanization business since the 600s or 700s BC, the Maya hit their stride after the 2nd century AD with the growth of cities like Tikal. Despite centuries of constant conflict with their neighbors in Calakmul, Tikal's biggest geopolitical swerve came from far-off Teotihuacan, who deposed the Maya rulers in 378 and installed their own. While this had every reason to go quite badly, Tikal gained immensely from their new ties to Mesoamerica's grandest city, with new art and architecture styles imported from the west. Tikal's own dominions also expanded, but it meant even fiercer and more constant conflict with Calakmul. They took turns trashing each other in battle, while in the middle of all of that, Tikal propped up some gorgeous temples. The stepped pyramid is just, such a look. Unfortunately for Tikal, droughts, crop failure, and overpopulation forced the Maya to head north for the coast and abandon their inland cities, leaving the jungle as Tikal's only company. A few centuries later, back in the Valley of Mexico, a local lake is about to become a very big deal. Legend has it that in 1325, the wandering Mexica people saw a divine omen commanding them to build their city right in the middle of Lake Texcoco. So, with no time to lose, they got to making islands to live on and wrestling the swampland into a tiny canal system to water the city's gardens. In the following decades, the Mexica created the Aztec Empire and expanded across Mesoamerica from their sparkling capital of Tenochtitlan. The only way to build a city in a lake is carefully, so the Aztec metropolis grew in stages, usually in response to flooding, over the 13 and 1400s, and in 1473 they absorbed the neighboring merchant city of Tlatelolco. So by the end of the 2nd century they had mondo pyramids and palaces, plus sprawling building complexes housing all manner of tradesmen and local artisans. The city was so magnificent that the Spanish conquistadors almost felt bad about destroying it. Yet in 1520 they overstayed their warm welcome from the Aztec king Moctezuma by killing him, burning his city, and overthrowing his empire. Stay classy, Cortez. Unfortunately, this was a trend, as Senor Pizarro had a similar experience in conquering the Inca. But first, let's rewind. 2 miles high in the mountains of South America around the 12th century, the Inca people founded the city of Cusco. Originally a quiet city-state in the middle of the Andes, the Inca grew into a vast and extremely mountainous empire during the 1400s, with Cusco fixed in the center of not just the Inca, but of the entire universe, and they brought the math to back it up. The city was symbolically built in the shape of a sacred puma, at the heart of which lay the central temple complex that divided the empire into its 4 quadrants. From that central temple, 42 ritual pathways fanned out and passed through over 300 natural shrines in the surrounding mountains. Sacred springs, caves, and rocks all aligned with
Sacred shrines in the surrounding landscape are called huacas in the Inca's native Quechua language, from the Coricancha temple and at the center of Cusco. These huacas lay along the 42 lines or sects. Like the Inca Empire overall, the sects were divided into quarters. Okay, so that makes sense.
The center of Cusco and might have served as an astronomical clock superimposed into the landscape itself. The buildings were no slouch either, as Inca architects cut their stones geometrically to fit together without mortar, often inventing some pretty bonkers polygons to make it happen. Although the empire was toppled and the city got sacked by Spaniards in 1535, some Inca stonework mercifully remains as the foundations of colonial buildings and the city's Spanish cathedral. Geometricians wish they have what Cusco had. Though indigenous American cultures are tragically underrepresented in world history, thanks in part to some liberal interpretations of what materials are best to kindle a fire, hint, it was not the Royal Library of Tenochtitlan, their cities tell an extraordinary story all by themselves. The temples and palaces and surprising number of grid plans are already masterful feats of engineering, but what I find most dazzling about them is the almost deliberately baffling choices of landscaping. Teotihuacan is in a valley ringed by volcanoes, Tikal is on an exposed limestone peninsula in the jungle, Tenochtitlan was built in the middle of a lake for funsies, and Cusco is up in the mountains with an astronomical front row seat to all of space. Each of these places pushes the boundaries for where cities can thrive, what they can become, and, in the case of the last two, how tragically they can be cut short. God, those conquistadors, just gold, gold, gold. No taste in urban design. Thank you all so much for watching. For all my incredibly well-documented love of the cities of the Eastern Hemisphere.
Pretty good, and yes, didn't make a video on Indigenous Peoples Day, but yes, happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Late Indigenous Peoples Day from me because yeah, I didn't get a chance to say it, but yeah. So that was a really good video. Talk to you guys in the next video. Also, subscribe to the channel. Want to get to 10,000 subscribers by September 13th of next year. So hopefully we can do that. And yeah, talk to you guys in the next video. Follow me on Twitch. Link is in the description. Click the heart so that we can follow me and get notifications for when I do stream. And yeah, talk to you guys in the next video, and peace.